Okay, so it's time for me to vent about this. It's one of those things, it's a real form of chaos, a real issue that I know a lot of us are experiencing, myself included. And it's getting to the point where it's just like, dude, what is going on? Like, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? And why is it such a challenge now for people to do this? And I know this is something that a lot of you can relate. Maybe a lot of you have already experienced it or currently experience it. And I figure now, hey, you know what? Let's do a little video on this and let's vent about it and let me bring it out to the community and let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear your input. And I want to know truly if this is something that you guys are experiencing, or is it just me going through the motions? Either way, let's find comfort and chaos together, guys, and let's get into this. All right, so before we get into this, I got to go ahead and make sure I appreciate you guys. All right, so first off, I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for hearing me out and being an ear. Also, I appreciate your input, guys. Last video, I got a lot of input. I learned a lot, and I love engaging you guys. And so please, let's continue to do so because as you guys do know, I do interact, I do engage, and I love to learn and I love to grow. And sometimes you got to do that by having those uncomfortable conversations. So I do thank you guys and I value every single one of you. If you're brand new, hey, welcome to the team. You already know there's all those little buttons down below. The like, the subscribe, the support is definitely appreciated. So thank you. Additionally, I have some cool links in the description, guys. There's a cool merch link. The support definitely goes a long way. It supports the journey. You can get a lot of cool stuff like with a hat I'm wearing right now. And then of course, link to my Instagram, guys. With the Instagram, hey, I always tell you guys, check on me so I can check on you. And it's definitely something I do value a lot. So thank you. And I appreciate that. Okay. So I'm not going to waste your time anymore. Let's dive in. Okay. So where to begin? All right. So I recently have been experiencing a trend, and I know I'm probably not alone. But I am wondering why this is such an issue now. And the issue is honesty. But not just any honesty, brutal honesty. And I mean brutal honesty. Because I personally am somebody who believes that honesty isn't just honesty and it shouldn't be sugar-coated. Let it be raw. Let it be real. Let it be brutal. I respect that. The type of man that I am, I respect that. Why? Because it allows me to know who you are. It doesn't paint this picture of fabrication. And I say that because maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe you guys have noticed this too. But have you noticed that there is a huge age of just fabricated lives? We see it on social media. We see it probably with people we engage with. They have to paint this picture of a fabricated lifestyle when you know that's not the way they really live, or that's not really who they are. But why not just be honest? Be honest who you are. Be honest the way you think. Be brutally honest on your opinion, because it lets us know you're authentic, you're genuine, you're real. And I almost prefer that. I do prefer that. And I'm curious if you guys are the same way, but it's a real case right now, guys. It's tough because I feel like this world would be so much easier. Our livelihoods would be so much easier if we were just honest with one another. Be upfront and don't sugarcoat it. Be brutally honest. And I know me personally, I've been dealing a lot with that lately. And it's funny because, I live and operate in a career field where you have to rely on relationships. You have to rely on those working relationships. And sometimes I've learned that if you have an issue with somebody, right now, the natural reaction is to, instead of engage that somebody over that issue, we tend to go around, rather than just go straight from point A to point B, engage, come up with a solution, and then move forward. But that's not the case. Now it's more of like we have an issue with somebody, and it's like our natural tendency to just kind of, instead of engage them, we go around. We go around and we talk to this person, and then that person talks to this person, and that person talks, and then before you know it, it comes right back around to the original person. And depending who they are or how they react, they can react differently. I'm the type that when it comes back to me, I'm like, wow, really? I did not know that. Well, you know what? I'm going to nip this in the bud and I'm going to go engage that person. And then I'm going to go, hey, man, everything okay? Because I heard, a little birdie came across my way and said things aren't working out, or you have an issue with that decision that I made or whatever. Because if so, let's come to a shared understanding and let's engage this. Because at that point, I know who they are and they know who I am. And I've experienced that recently, this past week at work. But it's one of those things where I can actually personally take pride in, because at least they know who I am. They chose not to engage me because they know who I am. They know I'm honest in my actions. I'm honest in my decision making. I'm very transparent of being that leader and looking out for those soldiers. And when it makes their day a little more challenging, they know that, hey, I'm going to engage them and we're going to figure out a solution. But sometimes people don't like that. They find confrontation to be destructive, when at times I say confrontation can also be healthy. There is such a thing as healthy confrontation, because you can engage in that confrontation and you learn something. But destructive confrontation, when you're going around, that leads to destructive confrontation. And at that point, that's where it really comes down to rooted who those individuals are and how they react. And that's what it's going to come down to. But all that could have been mitigated by just simple, brutal honesty. Why are people so afraid to be brutal honest? Like with one another. I am curious why that's a thing. It's almost like everyone either just assumes we are mind readers, or they assume that we just automatically know the truth and we're going to go with it. Or we're going to literally not think for ourselves and just believe everything somebody says to us, when the reality is not true. Sometimes you don't understand, but the truth is already out there. We know the truth. The more you dig yourself into that hole, when it's like, dude, just stop digging. We know the truth. Just come out. And we see it now, guys. We see it all over social media. We see these fabricated lives. We're seeing it in our leadership in every level right now, when it's like, dude, just imagine if they were just brutally honest from the beginning. Then you know who you're working with. You know who is leading you, or you know who you're in a relationship with, or you know who you're in a family relationship with, you know who you're networking, But now it's like, why is everybody so afraid to be honest? I am curious and I want to know, because this is a true form of chaos that I know not only I'm experiencing, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate. Just imagine how easy our lives would be if people we had in our lives were not afraid to just be brutally honest. Just imagine. But I like to think this. Now, here's where we got to challenge ourselves, and let's approach this from an analytical standpoint or a logical one, and not just kind of react off emotion, because this kind of action can literally lead to a very emotional reaction. But I like to think, okay, a lot of it, though, is probably because we live in a time now, in an age where people live off, or they thrive with, the feeling of acceptance. I did a previous video many moons ago on social media influencers and how they kind of like, are they influencers or are they a cult? Because people on social media, it's like they thrive for acceptance. Now, when you have that kind of mindset, or you have that operational platform where you are thriving for acceptance, then you think that now you're going to say and do or post or whatever to be accepted, no matter if it's true or not. And that's the issue. Because if you're doing that just on your social media, what else in life are you doing that with? And who else in your life or in your circle you're doing that to? And that's the real problem. And that's the real issue I see. I'm experiencing it now. I have people in my circle, I have people who I hold close to me that it's like the truth's there. I know the truth, but rather than owning it and just being honest, they choose to fabricate. They choose to paint this picture. And now all that does is just push you further away from those relationships or those networks. And it makes you just want to be like, you used to be really cool, but yeah, I just don't need that stress right now. I don't need that kind of mental stress, which we don't. None of you guys do. We have a real issue right now in our society, team, a real true form of chaos that we're going to need each other to help find some comfort in. And that is the issue that there is a lack of honesty in our world. People are afraid because I think clearly that's what it is. It's fear. It is fear that drives somebody to being brutally honest. Now, I'm not just going to point the finger at everybody you can't point the finger at everybody without, of course, pointing the finger at yourself and doing some self-evaluation. I personally can tell you guys, and I'm going to be honest here, that I used to be that same type. I used to. It took a series of self-evaluating. It took a series of going through traumatic situations, bad decisions, bad judgment calls for me to kind of really look and analyze myself and feel like, okay, what is the issue here? Oh, here's the issue. I just need to be more honest. I need to be brutally honest and stop worrying about what people think of me or stop worrying about the perception of me and just accept me for who I am. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I admit that. I'm not perfect. I make bad decisions. I don't claim to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes for sure. But I promise you that I'm going to learn. And I promise you I'm going to self-assess and I'm going to self-evaluate because the man who I am today is not the man who I was yesterday or the man who I was 10 years ago. One of the crazy thing is, team, I was thinking about this the other day. The 40 years that I've been on this earth, I thought about what would I say, what tip would I give to the younger version of myself if I can go back into time? And that tip I would give would be brutally honest. If there's something I learned from the future, which is now, that I can go back to the past and tell the younger self, the younger version of myself, I would tell him, hey man, let me give you some advice that's going to set you up and it's going to guide you to make better decisions and surround you with the proper people in your life going forward. And that is, don't be afraid to be honest. Don't worry about sugarcoating it. Just be brutally honest. Be honest with yourself and be honest with others. And you will get through this life with ease and it's going to set you up. That's what I wish I can go back and tell myself. But I had to learn the hard way. And you know what? I'm thankful because I probably wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for that. But now it is one of those things that because of what I've learned and because of that personal accountability, I've learned that now it's easier for me to identify it. When you own yourself, when you're honest with others, then that means you're honest with yourself. And when you do that, it kind of puts you in this new category or it gives you like this force field where now there's special vision where you can now almost see it. This is a real thing, but you can almost see it now when somebody's not. And then you start to identify, okay, is this a value? Is this person going to bring value to my life? Or are they going to bring this mental stress or where I got to question everything? And that's where you got to make that decision. So I challenge you guys. Here's where I challenge you guys. One, to not be afraid to be brutally honest. Okay? Be honest. Because when you're honest, you're not only honest with others, but you're honest with yourself. And when you're like that, you'd be amazed at what starts to come in your life. You know, the who and the what comes in your life. You'd be amazed. And then the caliber ends up being exactly what you needed. Not what you wanted, but exactly what you needed. And that's what we should thrive for in life. But it starts with honesty. And it starts with being honest with others and, of course, being honest with yourself. It's not easy, though, team. It's not easy. But at the same time, it's not impossible. And that's something we can thrive on. Because you'd be amazed at how easy the decisions start to get when it comes to where you want to go in life. Networking, friendships, relationships, family, ties, all of the above. Okay, team? So, hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I challenge you guys, let's be brutally honest, okay? Let's focus on that. And let's use ourselves, let's do a self-assessment of our circles, you know? And if there's somebody who's not being brutally honest, you know the truth, okay? You know the truth. Feel free. Call them out. Let them know. Give them an opportunity to be honest. And then you make the decision from there. But either way, team, I wanted to talk about this because I know this is a form of chaos that not only I'm dealing with, but I'm pretty sure some of you guys are as well. So please comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think, is there an honesty issue right now going on in today's world? Is it going on in your world? And if there is, should honesty be sugar-coated? Or should it be brutal? Which type of honesty do you prefer? Either way, guys, thank you for tuning in. Let's continue to find comfort in chaos together. And let's be brutally honest. Let's do it. Let's do it to each other. Let's do it for the world. Let's just be better. Okay? All right, team. I'll see you on the next video.